Welcome back to Grumpy Vet Garage. Today I want to go over and give you my review of xHP's transmission tune for the A90 Supra. My goal with my car has always been street performance. I've been trying to maintain a daily driver capable fast street car. In this video, I don't want to rehash over each individual feature of xHP. xHP has been out for many years, and it's still being updated currently by X Automotive, who created xHP. Before moving forward with the review, I kind of want to do a brief overview of my car so you can see the setup I'm running that was used in the review of the xHP transmission tune. So my car is a 2021 B58 powered 8-speed automatic Toyota Supra. It has an active AutoWorks catted downpipe and has a femto unlock and is running MHD Plus, their 93 octane OTS Stage 2 tune. So when I got xHP, I purchased the flash license and their map pack. The flash license allows unlimited flashes of one vehicle, so it's VIN locked and can't be moved from one vehicle to the other. And with this license, you can flash many different options, some of them including shift map editor, launch control, torque limiters, throttle blips, but there's many more, and I'll try to cover many of them in this video. But additionally, I got the map pack, which includes stage 1, 2, and 3. Stage 1 removes torque limiters. Stage 2 builds on stage 1, also removing torque limiters, but also gives you increased throttle response, stronger throttle blips on downshifts, but also faster shifts in general. Stage 3 takes what happens in stage 2 and it takes it even further. Just stronger blips, more aggressive really in every way. There's a lot of options associated with every single one of the stages. So there's options that you can do in stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. And I'm going to go over those. All those different features, I want to break down into really 4 categories. One is performance-based options. 2 is daily driver, like creature comfort options. The third one is the things I actually use, the options that I really loved in xHP. And then the fourth thing I want to go over is some things that I tried to use and some problems that I found trying to use them. So the first one is drag mode. I didn't use this. Drag mode is more of like a max effort mode for your transmission. It's trying to get all the power from the engine to the ground, ultimately at the expense of the transmission. And if you have a transmission that's ready for that kind of work, or you're not pushing enough power to potentially damage the transmission, this could work for you. It has plenty of cautions in it when you're looking at it, and I wanted to stay away from drag mode. That's not really what I'm trying to do. Again, street car. Next is true manual mode. This I thought was pretty interesting. I didn't use it, but it allows you to actually, when you go to manual and lean over your shifter, you are in manual. If you're in first gear, it's going to stay in first gear until you change. You go to second gear, it's in second gear. If you want to downshift back to first, you're going to have to do it. If you keep revving, you're going to bang it off the rev limiter. So it's good. I think it could be good for really any kind of competition driving or really spirited street driving. I could use it. I chose not to, but I also think that this would be good for like a dyno mode. If you're trying to dyno your vehicle, you don't have to worry about it doing an automatic upshift. And additionally, if you're the kind of person that is always in manual mode and doesn't want the transmission to take over control in any way, this could be good, because the last thing you want to do is go to pull a gear and then find out that the transmission was just about to shift for you, and then you pull a second gear. The next feature I want to mention is the line pressure bump feature. This feature, again, has a caution. It says right in it, if you're not a high horsepower, which I wouldn't consider my stage 2 tune Supra to be a high horsepower build, or if you're having some sort of slip and you're needing to stop those maybe 6th gear slips, then you would activate this. But if you're not having slips and you're not high horsepower, xHP even says don't activate this option. Next option was torque reduction on upshifts. Again, I didn't adjust these, but you can. There are options that you could use. And these can help with spooling the turbo a little bit, but also can make a more crisper shift if you want to play with those and make them suitable to your specific car. But again, this wasn't something that I used. The next is speed shifts. I didn't customize these specifically, but you can, whether or not you're in drive mode or sport mode, you can change them to normal, medium, or fast. But I left them alone. I went with the presets that came with the map pack, which I'm going to get to. Throttle blips is another option you have. I tend to think that the OEM throttle blips in sport mode are kind of aggressive. And when you use xHP and the maps or their stages, stage 2 and stage 3, I think that they're more aggressive than maybe I would want already. Stage 2 is pretty good, but without the stages, if you wanted to adjust that, you have the ability to just adjust throttle blips and their intensity. Next, I'm going to go over some daily driver options that you could use. Some of these I used and tried. Some I didn't bother trying at all. But I'm going to go over them briefly because they very well may add value to you. The first one was taking off in second gear. I tried this. I just didn't like it. But if you feel as though in daily driver scenarios that you don't like starting off in first gear, you can select to start off in second gear in drive mode, or both sport mode and drive mode. But it just seemed strange to me. So I turned it on, drove around, didn't like it, shut it right back off. The next is standstill decouple. Maybe my car is just too new, but I turned it on, didn't notice anything, turned it off, didn't notice anything, so I just left it off. Next is fuel saver. Nothing against saving fuel, but it said that it would save, and it said half a liter every 100 kilometers. I did some quick math. Roughly in your tank of fuel that you're getting now, if you use this in theory, you might be able to get the range of an additional gallon of fuel. It doesn't really fit the idea of what I have with my vehicle, but I could see if you were doing a long range trip, maybe this is something you would flash to the vehicle so for you to drive and cruise long distance and save some fuel. But I didn't try it. I wasn't doing long distance trips to really even review this properly, but it is an option that you can turn on. Next is the auto start stop feature. xHP allows you to turn off the auto start stop. I already have this taken care of in Beamer code. I didn't do a review of Beamer code, but it's great. It's pretty inexpensive and easy to use. But when you turn around and shut off the auto start stop using xHP, it just turned it back on for me. So you have to pick one or the other. Either if you have it coded off of Beamer code, stick with that. If you don't have Beamer code and never use it, that's fine too. You can shut off auto start stop with xHP, and I think it's totally worthwhile. Auto start stop is annoying. Okay, now moving to two different features that I absolutely love. And these are really the two big things that jump out to me about xHP. First one, probably not that big a deal to some people, but to me, I thought it was great. Sport mode getting turned off when you engage cruise control. Numerous times I will drive around in sport mode, and then I'll get up on the highway for a short bit or maybe a long bit, and I engage cruise control. But when you're in sport mode, it'll cruise in 6th gear and never go to 7th or 8th. You have to then reach over and turn off sport mode to allow the car to shift into 8th gear. And then when you turn off cruise control, you're not in sport mode anymore. Again, this isn't a huge deal, but it's very convenient that if you're driving in sport mode and you go to engage cruise control, that it just shuts off sport mode and lets you go into 7th and 8th. And then as soon as you stop cruise control, it puts it back into sport mode. This is something that should have came with from the factory, and it's a cool feature in xHP, and I love it from day one. The next feature is really, in my opinion, the star of xHP, and for me at least. For you, it could be different, but as somebody that, again, street car, a fast daily driver is what I'm thinking. The shift map editor. There are presets for drive mode and presets for sport mode, and there's four each, as I recall, 4 each. but you can actually choose the presets you want to use for normal drive mode and for sport mode. And there's actually 3 custom slots available too for you to make your own custom shift map. And I didn't do the custom shift map. I found presets that worked great for me. For instance, we all know when you're in drive mode, the car is in an absolute race to get to 8th gear as quick as possible. Doesn't matter what speed you're going. You could be going 35 miles an hour and the car wants to get into 8th gear as quick as possible and go 35 miles an hour, which makes it sluggish. And I find myself with that shift map, anytime I felt that I might need to get going, turning on sport mode. And then in sport mode, it's a drastic difference from drive mode. So cruising, drive mode, really wanting to be able to enjoy the car going into sport mode. Transversely, in sport mode, I feel sometimes that maybe it wasn't aggressive enough still. So these shift maps, the presets, you can get them to be exactly what you want. So in sport mode, the first preset I tried, I would be going through my neighborhood at 25 miles an hour and it would try to stay in 2nd gear. So that was too aggressive. So I went to the next one down and it was perfect. I'd get to my 25 mile an hour in my neighborhood and it would barely shift into 3rd and cruise through the neighborhood in 3rd gear. If I sped a little bit in the neighborhood before, it would try to go into 7th or 8th gear under 40 miles an hour. And it was kind of ridiculous. Like I felt the need at times to go into manual mode just to comfortably drive and keep the engine RPM at an appropriate level. So you can fix that and pick exactly what you want with sport mode, but in drive mode, it completely awakens the car. The car is quick. You don't have to be in sport mode to have a quick, responsive car. So I found myself, like a trip I took to Charleston like a week ago. It really highlighted how great it was. All day I'm driving around Charleston, South Carolina, and I have it in drive mode. Pulling out in the traffic, plenty of power. Very responsive, crisp. As soon as I tip in, and it wouldn't jump to 8th gear or even 7th gear. It would pull an appropriate gear with the shift map editor. So that to me, in what I use it for, is the highlight of xHP. Okay, this couldn't be a Grumpy Vet Garage video without there being a downside or a drawback. So here's the grumpy part of the video. So there are 2 features that I tried to utilize that I was really excited about. Those being torque limit by gear and the launch control. So the launch control, as many people know, once you get past anything over stock power, it's pretty useless, to be completely honest. You will squeal a tire very quickly, if not just do a burnout in 1st, and then chirp 2nd, chirp 3rd. You could be moving a little sideways. It's not a very effective launch. In fact, the data I have from previous videos with the Draggy shows that a launch too hard, you're really just wasting time. You're not moving forward. It's exciting, but it's not really performance moving forward. So I was excited with the torque reduction by gear that I might be able to pull some of the sharpness out of the torque of the car and possibly improve 60 times. I sat for probably 4 days between, not 4 days straight on the side of the road, but 4 days of messing with settings, trying to find a setting that helped the car on factory Michelin's pull away relatively efficiently, basically. And from my data logging, what I realized is there really wasn't any difference happening no matter what the settings were. So let me go over real quickly what torque by gear is and what the custom launch control, and I'll just read straight from xHP. So for torque limit by gear, they said this allows you to set electronic torque limits for each gear. Limiting torque in lower gears, especially on high horsepower rear-wheel drive cars, can improve traction and make them easier to drive. Different gears have different torque capacities, so limiting torque per gear can help prevent clutch slippage on tuned cars. So I was excited to think, okay, I can limit a little bit of torque and get away pretty quickly. It sounds like a great feature. I was excited about it. And then the next feature was custom launch control. It says xHP allows you to adjust parameters like launch RPM, wheel slip, brake boost torque, and much more to help improve your performance from the line. Launch control is configured for a stock vehicle, which I would agree. For a stock vehicle, it actually worked okay, worked pretty good. But as soon as any increased torque was going to the ground, it didn't work. So yeah, so it says launch control is configured for a stock vehicle, but a tuned vehicle needs to be readjusted to get optimal performance. So I tried using those, and I didn't really understand why I wasn't getting any results from it. I figured I was doing something wrong. But the more I looked, I finally found something that kind of made me understand like what the problem I was having was. So ultimately, what I found was there is an option in MHD tuning that quote unquote is ignore transmission limiters. Now, I didn't see it because I'm not custom tuning. And if anybody is custom tuning and says I'm way off base, by all means comment. I want to get smarter on this and try to figure out if there's a way for me to use this. But from what I'm seeing, it appears as though these features aren't going to work for me. So ignore transmission limiters, which then sent me back to looking at the MHD website. And sure enough, in the MHD Plus features, it lists, and I'm going to read this verbatim. It says, custom TCU limiters removed, Gen 2, automatic only. Remove TCU limiters while still retaining all safeties and OEM launch control. The limiters have been removed. The TCU limiters have been removed by the DME tune, which is what you want to do. You want to control torque through the DME tune, not through the transmission tune. Being able to do it through the transmission tune is convenient if that's appropriate for you, but it appears that with my MHD Plus tuning, the ability for the transmission to do any kind of torque reduction. Now, I don't know about for shifts. I'm assuming that still works because there has to be a torque reduction of some kind for a shift, for the shift to happen. It doesn't really matter what vehicle it is. For instance, even my Duramax, there is going to be a torque reduction to allow that time for a shift to happen. So you need to be able to have that, but to have a sustained torque limit reduced by gear or torque limit reduced for launch control, from what I'm understanding, the MHD straight ignores that. The TCU is gonna, or the TCM is going to request a torque reduction, and the DME is gonna be like, I got it, I don't need to listen to you. And we shouldn't have a problem. Again, we're using OTS tunes from MHD, and at no point is the torque from those stage 2 tunes going to be higher than the pretty well established torque limit of 600 foot-pounds of torque. Now, just quick comparing a stage 2 OTS tune from MHD to what I've seen across other cars, it appears to be the torque could be above 500 foot-pounds of torque, but it's definitely nowhere near 600. So I believe that MHD, in all their wisdom, is like, you don't need torque reduction anyway to get performance with this tune. And they have, as they said, they have removed the TCU limiters. So because of that, from what I've been able to tell, torque reduction by gear or torque limit by gear and then launch control, custom launch control, really doesn't work on an OTS tuned car. If you have used these features with xHP with a off-the-shelf tuned car, I would like to hear your results, whether or not you thought they worked very well. I messed around with it again for multiple days, probably about 4 days, going back and forth in the garage, seeing what I got, looking at logs, going back out to the farm road and seeing if I was going to be able to get a launch. And I really wasn't getting any result difference. The car felt the same. The transmission felt the same. Now, before I get too far, I wanted to make sure everybody understood what was already done on the car before I did this. I tuned on MHD prior to xHP. So as soon as I got the tune, the car drove drastically different. So I don't know what the difference would have been with the torque limiters removed with stage 1, 2, and 3 in xHP on a car that wasn't tuned by MHD or any OTS. I don't know if Boot Mod or Ecutech, for instance, has these same things where they ignore the limiters of the transmission. But I got into it. I guess I'm skipping forward here. When I used the stage, I went right to stage 2 is what I did. I flashed stage 2 and I went for a drive. And quite honestly, I was a bit like, okay. There was slightly faster shifting, but to say that there was a massive amount of difference in the behavior of the car, there really wasn't. I noticed the behavior difference when I got into the shift map editor and I used a couple different options, and I really enjoyed that. So I feel that xHP is beneficial, but it wasn't like, wow, you see all these reviews of like, wow, the car is so... No, I didn't get that. I didn't get that. And I think the reason I didn't get that is torque limiters were already removed. They were removed by MHD. Now, please, I want somebody much smarter than me to comment and tell me that I'm full of crap and that I don't know what I'm doing and I need to select something to get a different result than what I'm getting. But from what I can tell, that's kind of where I'm at. So the automate turn off sport mode and cruise control and turn it back on, awesome. The shift map editor, awesome. There are faster shifts. I felt those, and that was great. But again, I didn't feel like the transmission was slowly shifting. So there's that. So ultimately, my review of xHP is it's positive. It's good. I don't regret getting xHP. The difference I would say is I got the flash license and the map pack as a bundle. I'm not sure that maybe the best option for me may have been just to get the flash license, because when you get the flash license, all the options are available. Now, I'm not getting the configured faster shifts that are mapped in with stage 1, 2, and 3. I would have had to have manually done those, but there are presets built into the options. So again, I already said I thought throttle blips before xHP were in sport mode pretty excessive. That's my opinion. You know, this is coming from the grumpy vet, but there's a possibility that maybe going with just a flash license instead of the flash license combo with the map pack could be the way to go. Now, granted, I'm talking in 2024 time, but the difference between getting the flash license and the map pack separately compared to buying it together is $12 in savings. Getting it together, you save $12 between buying them both individually. $12 is significant, but possibly worth if you're not sure, you're on the fence about xHP. I would definitely say it is worth the $244 in 2024 money to get the flash license and have the options to change the way the transmission behaves. And then if you're like, I think I can get some more, or you want to go all in, the map pack has a lot of features where it's automatically configuring the options that you have available to change with the flash license. They're available with the map pack, pre-configured for you. But you have to ask yourself, is the map pack worth $244? Especially if I'm right and MHD's already turned off the torque limiter request that the transmission makes. Transmission is like, hey, reduce torque, and the DME is like, whatever, I'll do what I want. So xHP, definitely think it's a great product. It depends on what you want. So I don't know if this was a hot take or maybe not what you expected to hear from somebody who purchased xHP, but that's kind of how I feel, and I felt it was important to give you this information. I've had xHP for a while. I planned on making a video really weeks ago, but to be able to properly provide this information, I kept pushing it back, like, let's take another drive. Let's change this and let's take another drive. Let's go here and take another drive. You know, let's make some changes, see how they react. And then on top of that, doing some research to try to figure out the results I was getting in the logs and what I was seeing, why I really wasn't seeing any kind of change in torque limit by gear, and launch control seemed to be just as useless as it was before. So I hope this was able to help you maybe make a decision whether or not to get xHP or what exactly form of xHP you want to get. But if you found this useful, please consider subscribing to Grumpy Vet Garage, liking this video, sharing this video. It really helps the channel to grow. And additionally, we have a Grumpy Vet Garage merch store. This is a Grumpy Vet Garage shirt right here. We also have Supra specific shirts in the store. The link to that store is in the description below. And additionally, if there's a video that anybody in the Supra community or the DSM community or on the Silverado, the Duramax community, if there's a video that you're wanting to see or some information that you want me to provide, please let me know in the comment section. Really, of any video. It could be this video or any video you're seeing. I'm more than happy to interact with whatever comments you want to provide, whether or not I agree with them or not. But I enjoy talking with you guys, and I appreciate your comments. So again, subscribe if you want, like this video, share this video, buy a shirt if you want, but interact. But thanks for coming and seeing me in my garage, and until next time, have a good one.